Welcome. My name's Stephanie McCredie, and I'm here today with Shae Marlow from Kayo Sports. She's head of consumer platforms and operations, and Nigel Piper, the executive general manager from Xero. So welcome.
Thank you, Steph.
Great to have you here today. I'm really excited that we're going to be talking this morning about the true bleeding edge of service, and not just for business to consumer, but also business to business, and what you're both experiencing and how you're really leading the way and blazing new trails in what you're doing at both Kayo and Xero. So thanks for joining us.
Very welcome.
So I wanted to start by talking about the state of service now. So Nigel, we've been having conversations for a while about flipping service from being a cost engine to a revenue generator. What are you seeing in the state of service at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how things are shaping up. I think the days that contact centres were seen as a cost have certainly much changed. And it's fantastic now that we're seeing organisations that are seeing the value of engaging with customers, talking to customers, and the value that creates. And I think that really is the way forward. Customers want to engage. I think in Xero's case, we see every engagement we have with a customer as a really positive step. Often it's a first contact point that they have with Xero, and we just see that the more we can engage with customers, the more we can help them on the journey, we just see a really positive engagement from all of the customers we deal with.
And I've heard in some other institutions where there's time that a customer might trust the person servicing them even more, and so when they come up with a recommendation about something else they should consider from your organisation, and that chance to, I guess, upsell or provide that revenue. Do you find that sort of experience with your Xero customers at all?
Well, what we certainly find is that human interaction. Customers want to know who they're dealing with. They want to have a human connection with that person. Likewise, the people that are actually helping our customers also want to have that human connection with our customers. So I think the days of treating a customer as just a number are well and truly gone. And now it is really about that personal interaction. And with that personal interaction allows that confidence and that credibility that comes with that, that connection that people can have. Humans are Xero value, and our people truly want to understand and help small businesses grow. And we see lots of those types of conversations happening every day.
Yeah, right. Well, that's an interesting segue into discussing with you, Shae, what's happening with Kayo Sports, and what you're doing with automating service and what you're doing from a self-service perspective. Mm-hmm. Can you explain a bit more about what you're doing and how you're sort of cutting edge and blazing trails?
Yeah, sure. So we are 14 weeks young as a service that is now available in market. And we were tasked with building a service model that would complement a world-class product also. So we looked at a digital service-only model, and with that and obviously that is with a cost to serve with view to scale. And so our predominant focus as a platform strategy and operations team, being the contact center also, was how do we build that in? So our focus from a self-service point of view is our community. Our community since, so week 14, we are seeing a 92% deflection. And then with our automated bot, affectionately known as K-Bot, who had its third iteration yesterday after that 14 weeks, and we're seeing about a 14% deflection also there.
Wow, so third iteration after just 14 weeks with the bot?
Technically 4 iterations because we had a 1, 1.5, a 2 and a 3, and we're looking at 4. So pretty much every 2 sprints we are iterating on the bot.
Right, and you mentioned, and I don't want to skip over this, you mentioned digital service only.
Correct.
How many phone calls do you get?
None. So we are no inbound whatsoever, and that view is to stay that way. However, we do have outbound. So for those curly ones, very unique. We picked up the phone 3 times in the 14 weeks.
Wow.
And we are seeing customer effort scores, all of those types of our success metrics upholding to this digital service strategy.
Yeah, so no inbound phone and only 3 sort of outbound calls in that 14-week period. So I think that's pretty phenomenal. And I didn't want to skip over that.
And it'll be interesting to see how that scales. So
yeah, and it sounds like the response has been very positive.
Correct.
and that you've had 92% case deflection. So positive for your employees and your customers?
Absolutely. And so when it is hitting the contact centre, it's for those most like the more complex issues where customers do need that third triage of support.
And I guess it means then your agents aren't answering the same repetitive questions over and over, so it's more satisfying work for them that they're doing when they are involved?
Correct. Our team is small, but it is growing, and we did an engagement survey recently, and it was extremely high.
Oh, fantastic.
Extremely high.
Yeah, oh, great. And so Nigel, what's your perspective on whether Australia is leading or lagging in, and New Zealand, from a Xero perspective, whether Australia and New Zealand are leading or lagging when it comes to how we're providing service to our B2B or B2C customers?
Yeah, I think Kayo is probably a great example of just the innovation that exists in Australia and New Zealand. I think New Zealand and Australian companies have led a lot of that creativity, the different ways of thinking about things, lots more new companies that are born post-internet, which changes the options that are available in engaging with customers. And so what I see is, lots of organisations thinking quite differently around digital channels and how to engage with customers. And they're using the opportunity, particularly with technology. I think technology helps. It still has to have that belief around what you're trying to do for customers, how you want to operate as a company, but then you can use technology that allows that to happen in a really seamless way. And allows that scale, and I think Kayo again is a great example with that scale where you can actually start from somewhere and be really thoughtful around how you deliver a support experience. And I think the key is that it doesn't undermine the service experience. It's saying we think this is a better way, we think there's new ways, we think there's a way that customers are changing, customers want to interact with you in a different way, and it's about providing that, what really customers are asking for.
Yeah, so tell us a bit more about how you're evolving your service approach at Xero. What have you observed in your time there, and where do you see that going?
Yeah, so I've seen lots of change. I joined Xero 6 years ago when we had 100,000 customers, and we've got over 1.6 million customers today.
Wow.
And I think really, even in the last few years, I think the whole service industry has changed. People's expectations of service is much higher. And I think it's really interesting. People want you to use the information that you know about them. They want you to use it in a really mature way, really thoughtful way. They want you to make sure you protect their information, but they're now expecting that you know who they are, you know what they've used or consumed, that they know what you are likely to want in the future, and it's about tailoring that approach. And people's now expectation is to know a little bit more about them, and then again use that experience to deliver a better experience to them.
Yeah, so in what you were just talking about, that personalised, engaging type of service, using the trusted data you have on your customers to provide that better experience.
Yeah, I think personalised, ease and speed are the three things that people talk about these days in terms of how do we look after customers. And again, customers' expectations have changed massively, even in the last few years, and it's about companies now blazing their own trail to make sure they're delivering against that expectation.
And how have you found, in New Zealand, how have you found, with Xero and internally and with your customers, how you're evolving that? Are people receptive? Are your customers receptive to the changes that you've made? Are you getting better results?
Yeah, people are really receptive to the different type of environment. I think internally, the internal customers are sometimes your biggest challenge. Customers love innovation. They're prepared to they want to find information quicker. They're quite comfortable searching for information. They get very frustrated if they can't find that information, so there's an onus of making sure that you serve up that beautiful content to them. But they're really comfortable finding information. They want to find it themselves, and they're really comfortable in doing that. And again, that human element. So we have agent profiles, for example, so somebody can see who they're dealing with and know a little bit about them. And again, like I said before, we have encouraging customers to do the same, to bring that human connection. I don't think technology changes that. It's still about the human connection around service, but how do you bring that into a digital world is the key.
Yeah, right. So you've got 1.6 million customers, you mentioned?
Yeah, right? And we've grown 400,000 customers in the last 12 months,
Wow.
another 400,000 customers a year before. So I see rapid change, and so every day I wake up thinking about, well, what does 2022 look like? What does 2025 look like?
Yeah.
And how do you make sure that you deliver a fantastic experience to those customers, because that's what it's all about.
How does 1.6 million sound to you? I mean, you're essentially in a startup mode, I guess,
We are.
and he's talking about 400,000 customers a year. So what are your thoughts about how you're evolving service to really grow your customer base and your loyalty as well at Kayo?
I think Nigel put it well in that what keeps me up at night. So I'm the start of the journey that Nigel was at 6 years ago. So it was announced that Kayo hit 100,000 subscribers just recently. So we are at the start of that journey. And so it is, what are we going to do to be able to maintain that and scale that when it's a digital service only? And that's where we're going to be putting a lot more emphasis on our second phase of the customer service strategy.
Sure. So before we wrap up, I think everyone would like to hear what's next. What do you foresee in the future? What will be keeping you awake in future, or what are you thinking about to get to that 1.6 million or 10 million, whatever that might be?
So yeah, there's going to be a fair bit of pressure to uphold this digital service strategy, and so we are strong partners with Salesforce, and we have the Service Cloud, Community, Social Studio, and Einstein now. So being able to leverage all of those aspects and to ensure that they are playing into this self-service and automation piece. So we have a platforms team that is predominantly focused on improving that. To improve. So the bot, I said 14%, we're looking to get that to 25% by the end of 2020.
Right.
That obviously then impacts the contact center, reduced handle time, reduced number of agents required. So the more that we can turn that lever up without obviously compromising the customer experience is sort of the battle that we're going to be working towards. And then Einstein Analytics, bringing in the customer 360, we've already started that venture now, and it's looking really promising too. So a lot to do. But really excited.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, and I hope you have a great day with your team here at World Tour. So Nigel, what about you? What's next? What's the future hold for Xero?
Yeah, and I think Xero's at the very beginning of their journey as well. 1.6 million sounds like a lot of customers, but we still have pretty high growth and expectations about the future. I think events like Salesforce allow that creativity of ideas to come through. Over the next 12 months, certainly we're looking at personalised learning experiences, learning journeys. How do you take somebody, a user, on effectively a trailhood journey? How do you take them along? How do you teach them things? And how do you make that a really fun way of learning? And I think the challenge with software and the amount of innovation and the amount of features that we've done, it's hard to find sometimes that information. So how do we make that a lot more seamless? And then the future over the next 3 years, we've got a pretty set roadmap, but that will iterate over the next 12 months, 24 months, depending on how we're tracking.
Yeah, right. Do you have any final tips for others that are starting on their journey in becoming modern service organisations? Do you have any final thoughts to leave with them?
Probably two very short ones or quick ones. Again, think of the experience you want to provide your customers, and then use the technology to allow that. Yeah. Don't roll out a technology suite and then try and tailor the approach based on what you've actually done. And then I think the second point is think of disruption and don't wait to be disrupted. Disrupt yourself. Think differently. Think how you would, if you had to start again, how you would deliver a different experience, and then blaze your own trail in terms of making that happen.
Great. I think they're great tips. Very good. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a great time at World Tour today as well.
Thanks very much.
And safe travels back to New Zealand. So I would like to thank everyone for joining and listening to these great stories from Kayo and Xero. Quite different, accounting and sports. So thank you everyone, and have a great day.